Tonight, millions of people will look up at the same moon, turning the color of rust, and most of them will scroll past it. But you and I know this is not a normal full moon. August 28th. Earth's shadow swallows almost the entire moon, and this eclipse lands in the final degrees of Pisces, the last eclipse in this sign for years. These are the nights when buried things surface, when old patterns finish breaking, when the truth you have been postponing stops waiting for your permission. A window is opening tonight, and it closes within hours. What you do inside this window matters more than anything else this month. Stay with me till the very end. The last thing I say could change everything. Because when shadow crosses the moon tonight, it is not just the light that disappears. Old emotions, unfinished stories, and truths you have kept buried can suddenly rise to the surface. And once they do, you may not be able to look at your life the same way again. I have a small ritual on eclipse nights. I turn my phone off around 9, make a cup of something too hot to drink fast, and sit on the roof with a blanket that still smells like last winter. No music, no company, just the sky doing what it does. Somewhere in those hours, I always end up thinking about the people I love who have no idea this is happening. They are inside, scrolling, watching something funny, completely unaware that the ground under their story is shifting. I used to feel a strange sadness about that. Now I understand it differently. The eclipse does not need an audience to work. The moon loses its light whether you watch or not, and the energy of that completion moves through the night the way a deep breath moves through a sleeping house. But I also know, from years of watching people's lives move around these dates, that the ones who sit with it, the ones who watch on purpose, are the ones who come out the other side holding a story instead of a scar. The funny thing about that roof is that I have never once regretted sitting there, even on the nights when nothing dramatic happened. The regret has always been on the other side. The nights earlier in my life, when I chose the screen over the sky and woke up 3 days later, wondering why everything felt wrong. Pisces, then. Every sign in the zodiac has a shadow side that shows up during eclipse season, but Pisces is the one that hides in plain sight. Because Pisces rules the things we do not admit we do. It rules the dream you keep reopening at 2 a.m. It rules the apology you rehearsed in the shower for a person who never heard it. It rules the agreeable grin you wear in rooms where you are quietly disappearing. The yes you say when you mean no. The career you stayed in because leaving felt like drowning, and the relationship you kept warm out of fear of the cold. When a lunar eclipse lands in Pisces, and this one lands at almost 5 degrees, nearly fully dark, it does not bring new problems. It brings old ones up to the surface, fully formed, like fish rising from the bottom of a pond you stopped looking into years ago. And that is uncomfortable by design. But here is the part I keep having to remind myself of, and the part I want you to hold on to. Things that are finished surface so they can leave, not so they can stay. There is a difference between a door closing on you and a door closing behind you, and this eclipse is the second kind, if you let it be. Let me tell you what I have been noticing this week, because it has been hard to miss. I have had 11 conversations in the last 7 days that all sounded like the same conversation. A friend who never cancels plans cancelled 3 in a row and did not apologize. Another friend, a man who never remembers his dreams, woke up at 4 in the morning from a dream about his mother, who died 6 years ago, and sat in the kitchen until sunrise. A client of mine described the week as walking through water. She could not concentrate, could not finish tasks, kept forgetting why she walked into a room. And the strangest one, 3 separate people told me they had been thinking about someone from their past, someone they had not spoken to in years, and within 24 hours, that exact person had texted them. I am not here to tell you that is a miracle. I am telling you the pattern, because eclipses are not random events. They are completion events, and completion always shakes the dust off the shelves. If you have experienced even one of those things this week, you are not imagining a coincidence. You are standing in the same weather everyone else is standing in, and it helps to know the weather has a name. So here is what I think is actually happening, and I want you to hear it slowly, because it changes how you experience the next few days. The moon's entire job is to reflect light. It has no light of its own. It borrows everything it shows us from the sun. And during this eclipse, Earth's shadow stands between the two, and the moon simply cannot reflect anymore. For 3 hours and 18 minutes, the mirror goes dark. Now translate that into human terms, because that is the language this eclipse speaks. The part of you that mirrors other people's moods, expectations, and approval, the part that tells you what to say so the room stays comfortable, the part that changes shape so you can fit. That part is going dark too. Not permanently, but for long enough that you can finally feel what you actually feel, underneath all the borrowed light. That is why the week feels heavy. You are not losing yourself. You are meeting yourself for the first time in a long time, and there is no mirror in the room to hide behind. Most people spend their whole lives performing for an audience that never asked them to perform. This week, the audience is gone for a few hours. What do you even look like when nobody is watching? That is not a philosophical question. That is the question this eclipse was built to ask. There's a friend of mine I keep thinking about this week, and I want to tell you her story, because it is the clearest example I have of what this eclipse actually does. Let's call her Maya, though that is not her name. Maya spent 4 years in a job she described as fine, which meant underpaid, undervalued, and doing the work of 3 people, while her manager took credit for all of it. She knew it was not working. She had known for 2 years, but every time she thought about leaving, she listed the reasons to stay: the rent, the stability, the fact that she had built the department, the fear that she was too old to start again. Does that sound familiar? During the last eclipse cycle on this axis, she did nothing dramatic. She did not quit. She just sat with it. And somewhere in the weeks that followed, the sentence she had been avoiding for 2 years arrived fully formed in the middle of the night. I am not afraid of failing. I am afraid of being seen trying. That sentence dismantled everything. It did not arrive as a lightning bolt. It arrived quietly, the way most real truths do, and then refused to be ignored. 6 months later, she was running her own practice. The eclipse did not fire her. It simply stopped lending its light to the story she had been telling. And once the story lost its light, she could finally see it for what it was. That is what I mean when I say this eclipse takes nothing that was actually yours. Over the years, I have noticed that Pisces eclipses tend to surface 4 specific things, and I want you to run through them honestly while I talk, because one of them is probably your thing. The first is the apology you owe yourself, the forgiveness you have been withholding from your own past, from the version of you that did not know better, from the mistake you keep re-prosecuting in your head. The second is the relationship you outgrew, not necessarily romantic. Sometimes it is the friendship that became a duty, the family role you play that stopped fitting, the mentor whose advice you have outlived. The third is the dream you buried, the thing you loved before you were told it was impractical, the book you stopped writing, the business you never started, the instrument sitting in the corner of the room. And the fourth is the quietest and the most common, the resentment you have dressed up as peace. The "it's fine" that is not fine. The tolerance you confused with maturity. If you felt a pull when I listed those, if your chest tightened on one of them, that is not the eclipse speaking to you. That is you, finally allowing yourself to hear it. And I want you to notice something important about that list. None of those things were put there by the sky. They were already in the room. The eclipse just turned on the light. When something heavy starts rising, our first instinct is to cover it with noise. I have fallen into this trap more times than I want to admit. We open the phone. We eat something we do not need. We start a fight about something small. We reorganize the closet at midnight. We tell ourselves we are processing while we scroll. But scrolling is not processing. Scrolling is the lid you put back on the pot. I noticed it in myself so clearly last week. I felt the restlessness coming, that particular itchy feeling, and I found myself reaching for my phone with no thought at all, just to fill the space. And I stopped and asked myself a very simple question. What am I afraid is going to happen if I sit in this feeling for 5 minutes? The answer was honest and embarrassing. I was afraid it would be bigger than me. And the noise works for a while. That is the sneaky part. You can run from a feeling for months, for years, and your life will look completely normal from the outside. But the feeling is not gone. It is just renting a room in your body, and it pays its rent in fatigue, in irritability, in dreams you cannot explain. That is the fear that keeps us performing. That is the fear that keeps us reflecting everyone else's light. We are terrified that if we stop moving, the feeling will swallow us. But feelings do not swallow people. Unexpressed feelings do. The feeling itself, felt all the way through, passes like weather. Dreams. I want to talk about dreams for a moment, because this is the week when dreams stop being background noise. I have a rule I borrowed from an old therapist. Never trust the dream. Always trust the feeling the dream leaves behind. And the feeling people are walking out of sleep with this week has been consistent. Not fear, exactly, but completion. Like a chapter you already knew was ending, finally received its last page. In the last 6 days, 4 separate people have described the same dream to me. They are back in the house they grew up in, the one that may not even exist anymore. And every room they walk into is being packed, not by anyone threatening, just by time. One of them woke up and cried for 20 minutes without being able to say why, and I suspect she knew exactly why. She just was not ready to say it out loud yet. That is what an eclipse in Pisces does to deep water. It stirs the bottom, and everything that sank, everything too heavy to hold, floats up in images instead of words, because images are the only language deep water speaks. Then there is the second thing I keep noticing. The signs you have been asking for arrived weeks ago, in shapes you did not recognize because you were waiting for something louder. You asked for clarity and got a conversation that made your stomach drop. You asked for direction and got a door closing. You asked whether a person was right for you and got a silence that answered perfectly. I say this gently because I have lived it. Not every sign arrives wearing the uniform you expected. Some arrive wearing the exact face of your disappointment. And it can take years to learn that disappointment is often just timing in disguise. You may not need more signs. You may just need permission to trust the ones already sitting in your recent memory, the ones you keep explaining away because they did not arrive dramatically enough. This full moon has a folk name that has always stayed with me, the Sturgeon moon, named centuries ago because this was the time of year when the great fish rose to the surface of the lakes and rivers where people could finally see them, count them, and know what was actually swimming beneath. The fish rose. That is the image I want you to hold for the next few days because it describes this eclipse better than any chart does. Everything that has been living in the deep, feeding in the dark, growing without an audience. It comes up now, into the light, not to be caught, but to be seen, at last. And here is the uncomfortable part I have to tell you honestly. Some of what surfaces will not be yours to keep. Some of it will be old grief that finally finishes leaving. Some will be a version of a person you outgrew years ago, rising only so you can watch it swim away. That is not loss. That is the lake finally showing you what was true all along. Another thing this eclipse touches, and it may be the loneliest part, so I want to warn you before it arrives. The people around you will not all survive this week the way you survive it. I am not talking about death. I am talking about the strange, quiet rearranging that happens when one person in a room starts telling themselves the truth. When you stop performing, the people who are in love with the performance have to notice. Some of them will ask what is wrong. Some will get annoyed with your silence. And a few, this is the part that surprises everyone, a few will quietly get closer because they were also tired of performing and they were only waiting for someone else to stop first. It happened to me in a smaller way 2 years ago, and it cost me a friendship I had called foundational. I have stopped believing that word. What survived the truth was worth keeping. What did not was never going to be. Give yourself permission for something that may feel like failure. Do not argue with the impulse to be alone this week. I have noticed over and over that the people who fight this eclipse's pull towards solitude are the ones who come out of it exhausted and irritable, while the people who surrender to it, who cancel the plans, skip the party, let the group chat go silent, come out of it 3 days later looking like they slept for a year. I watched a friend do this last eclipse season. She cancelled everything, sat alone with no book and no phone, and by Monday morning she had finally sent the resignation letter she had drafted 14 months earlier. Wanting to be alone around a lunar eclipse is not depression. It is not avoidance. It is the nervous system doing something intelligent. It is clearing the room so the truth can sit down. You cannot hear a quiet voice in a loud house. And the voice that needs hearing this week has been waiting a very long time to speak. Go quiet then, on purpose. Not as punishment, not as hiding, as hospitality. The kind you would offer a guest you have been meaning to talk to for years. You are not disappearing. You are making space for the version of yourself that does not need an audience to exist. And if the house feels too loud this week, that is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that you are finally hearing a frequency you had drowned out. Here is something practical, because I know a floating feeling when I hear it. And half of what makes eclipse weeks overwhelming is the fear that we are supposed to be doing something we are not doing. There is no ritual you failed to perform. There is no right way to sit with this. But I have watched enough of these nights to believe in a simple sequence, and I am going to give it to you exactly as I practice it. 3 movements. That is all. The first is release, and it comes with an instruction most people will not give you because it sounds too plain. Write the thing you have been carrying on a piece of paper And I mean a physical piece of paper, not a note in your phone, the kind your hand has to move across, the kind you can feel. Do not edit it. Do not make it dignified. Write the ugly version, the one you would be embarrassed for anyone to see, because embarrassment is usually the smell of truth. Then fold the paper once and put it somewhere you will not look at for 3 days. You are not burning it yet. You are not mailing it. You are just moving it out of your body and onto a surface which is already more distance than you have had in years. The second movement is the one nobody talks about, because it sounds like the opposite of spiritual. Do something physical and repetitive until your mind gives up trying to impress you. Walk until your legs ache. Fold the laundry. Knead dough. Pull weeds. Sweep a floor you have been meaning to sweep for a month. I know it does not sound profound, but I have learned that the body keeps the schedule the mind refuses to keep. And when the moon goes dark, the mind loves to recite every old story, while your hands keep the truth moving underneath it. The third movement is the hardest and the most important. Say one true sentence out loud to yourself before you sleep. A sentence no one is paying you to say, a sentence that would cost you something if it were overheard. I am still in this job because I am afraid of starting over. I still text her because I miss being wanted. I have not forgiven him, and I have stopped pretending I have. One sentence. That is the whole ritual. It is not cleansing. It is not manifesting. It is not even that interesting while you are doing it. But I have seen it do more than every guided meditation I have ever sat through, because it moves the truth from the place where you hide it to the place where you can finally stand before it. And let me address the question I hear every single time, the question someone is almost certainly thinking right now. What if I feel nothing at all? What if this whole eclipse thing is noise and my life just stays the same? I want to be honest with you, because I think false promise is the real poison in this space. Nothing will happen for you automatically. The moon will darken and return. And if your intention is to keep things exactly as they are, the eclipse will cooperate. It does not shake people who hold on with both hands. It shakes people who are already letting go. I have also learned, though, that feeling nothing is rarely the whole truth. More often, it is the fog, and the fog is real. This week, a woman told me she felt completely numb, that she did not care about the eclipse, that she had no desire to participate in any of it. And then, in the same conversation, she dropped a detail. Her mother's birthday was this month, the first one since she lost her. That is not nothing. That is the body keeping a date the mind is refusing to look at. So if you feel nothing, I want you to ask a gentler question than what is wrong with me. Ask yourself, what would I feel if I let myself feel for 10 seconds? And then actually time it and let whatever comes up come up. And notice how it moves through you like weather instead of staying like a stone. That is the entire trick. And it is not a trick. It is just practice. What I find genuinely strange is how the world will not know. People with no idea what is happening will drive to work tomorrow, order coffee, complain about traffic, and live out an ordinary Friday, while you, having watched the sky, may feel like you are standing a half step outside of time. I have always loved that split, and I have learned to protect it. Do not try to make other people feel it. Do not bring it to the dinner table and test it on family. If someone asks what is wrong, and something is, tell them, not the eclipse, the truth. The eclipse is your private weather. It does not need to be explained or defended, and the moment you try to convince someone it is happening, you hand your experience over to their doubt. Keep the practice small and silent. Keep it yours. The people who understand will not need the explanation, and the ones who do not would not accept it anyway. Protect this night the way you would protect a conversation you have not had yet, because in a way, that is exactly what it is, a conversation between you and the version of yourself who stopped pretending, and it deserves the respect of privacy. Finally, the part I have been building toward, and the part I want you to actually remember, because it is the reason I sat down to make this at all. When the eclipse passes and the moon climbs back into full light, something is going to be different, and the difference will not announce itself. It will show up the way everything real shows up, in the small resistances that suddenly feel gone. You will notice it first in the mornings. The sentence you usually wake up to, the weight on your chest before your eyes even open, will be lighter, or it will simply not be there, and you will almost miss it before you realize what its absence means. Then you will notice it in your patience. The person who could always set you off will do something that used to set you off, and you will watch yourself not perform the reaction, not because you are repressing it, but because the wire has been disconnected. And finally, you will notice it in your appetite for the future. The plan you kept shelving will stop feeling like a risk and start feeling like a direction. The conversation you kept postponing will lose its power to frighten you. This is not a guarantee, and it is not a promise from me to you. It is simply the pattern I have observed in every person I have ever watched sit through one of these nights honestly. The light returns. What it shows you on the way back is the shape of the life you have been too tired to choose. The moon has no light of its own, remember. It borrows it all. And so do you. The question this eclipse leaves behind is not what the universe owes you. It is what you are willing to let your own light illuminate. Finish it now, tonight, while the sky is still doing the work, because tomorrow the world will be loud again. The phone will ring. The news will happen. Ordinary life will come back like a tide, and it will want you to forget this. I have watched it happen a dozen times. People sit with the eclipse, feel the shift, wake up changed, and by Tuesday, they are back in the old chair, the old argument, the old story, because nobody told them that the real work starts after the sky returns to normal. The eclipse does not finish your life for you. It only shows you the door that has been in the wall all along. The walking is yours, and the walking starts tonight, in the quiet, while you still remember exactly how you felt when the light went out. That feeling is a compass. It will not lie to you, and it will not last, so trust it while it is fresh. Everything you have been postponing has been waiting for a night exactly like this one, a night when the sky gives you permission to stop reflecting and start being. You do not have to be ready. You only have to be awake. The moon will return, and so will you. But you will not return the same. And that right now is the only thing that matters. One last piece. The thing I want sitting in your chest after the video ends and you are standing in whatever room you are standing in. Somewhere tonight, on the other side of this shadow, something that has been waiting for years is waiting one more night. A decision, a sentence, a beginning you have been too tired to start. It is not coming to save you. It is not coming because you deserve it. It is coming because the old shape has finally finished, and nature abhors a shape that has finished the way it abhors a vacuum. The people who walk through nights like this come out the other side quieter, not louder. That is how you will know it worked. They stop explaining themselves. They stop auditioning. They stop asking permission from rooms that were never going to give it. The emptiness you felt this week was not a sign of something missing. It was the space being cleared, and space is not nothing. Space is what the new thing needs in order to exist. So, before you go, do the 3 things I gave you tonight, or do none of them, and just sit in the dark for 10 minutes with your phone off. Both are honest, and honesty is the whole practice. And as the shadow lifts and the moon starts to glow again, I want you to hear this from someone who has watched 100 of these nights. The light coming back into that moon is the same light that has been waiting on the other side of every wall you have built. Nothing has to happen tomorrow. Tonight is enough. Whatever is meant to move will move, not because you forced it, but because you finally let it. And there is a difference between the two that your whole life has been waiting to learn.